for Fisher.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker, and I rise this morning against this motion because I stand with Israel. I stand with Israel. I stand with Israel. Who of those of the Greens who have just spoken travelled to Israel since October 7? We had one reference in 15 minutes of speeches from two members, one reference to October 7. One momentary 5-second reference, just one. You've had your go. I let you speak, you let me speak, all right? You might learn something. One reference. Now, I'll tell you, Mr Deputy Speaker, and anybody that's listening, do you want to know how to stop this war today? This war could be over today. The suffering of so many people could finish today if Hamas unconditionally surrender and return the remaining 134 hostages. Now, I personally believe that every life is sacred. Doesn't matter whether you're black, brindle, Christian, Jew, Palestinian. It doesn't matter.
In silence.
It doesn't matter. I believe every life is sacred. But on October 7, we saw the most despicable, violent attack against innocent civilians in southern Israel. We saw 1,200 deaths of Jewish people. Hamas terrorists flew, tunnelled under, smashed through fences to rape, torture, kill, take hostages because of the race of people living in Israel. And it has to be said, they weren't just Jews that Hamas killed and raped and tortured as well. 1,200 deaths. On October 7, 14,492 people were injured. I'll say that number again because it's not one that's used very often. You don't hear about it very often. 14,492. And according to the National Insurance Institute report, 52,571 people were injured as a result after October 7. 264 hostages were taken and 134 hostages remain. The Greens don't talk about that. The Greens don't talk about the atrocities that took place. I travelled to Israel in December of last year. I was briefed. It is seared into my brain, a 42-minute video where I saw over 100 Jews slaughtered at the hands of Hamas terrorists. I saw the body cam of those deaths. The attacks, the appalling attacks on children, women. Israel did not want this war. They did not start this war. Hamas terrorists knew what they were doing on October 7. It would be like me walking up to a beehive and shaking the beehive and not expecting to be attacked. Hamas knew exactly what they were doing. This was a strategy many months, if not years, in the planning. They knew what they were doing. And, Mr Deputy Speaker, when I watched that video as the Deputy Chair of the Intelligence and Security Committee, I saw that video, and it was I think a life-changing moment for me. We saw videos of people, of terrorists trying to behead innocent Israeli civilians. Where were the Greens talking about this? Where were the Greens talking about the rape of women and children? Where were they? You know, you don't hear the Greens talking about those atrocities. One reference today of October 7. One reference.
Order.
Out of 15 minutes of speeches. This war could end today if Hamas unconditionally surrendered, handed back the 134 hostages. Prime Minister Netanyahu has said that very thing. This war could end. But Hamas don't want to do that. They want, and have since October 7, and for years prior to that, they have used infrastructure in Gaza as a means to protect their own terrorists. Hospitals. They have used Palestinians as human shields. Hospitals, schools. There is no doubt about that. It is irrefutable that Hamas are using Palestinian civilians as human shields. And they are doing that because they know that they will garner support of the international community. The reality is, under international law, that Israel has a right to defend itself. And we saw, Mr Deputy Speaker, just after October 7, we saw a Hamas leader, only about a week after October 7, come out and say, Hamas will continue to attack Israel. They will continue and continue and continue until Israel and everybody in it is driven into the sea. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be freed. That is their catchphrase. That's what they say. Hamas have continuously threatened the annihilation of Israel and everybody living in it. Now, Mr Deputy Speaker, when you have that existential threat, what is a government to do? What would we do as the government of Australia if we were put in that same situation? Mr Deputy Speaker, I have been on the ground. I have seen the sites of the atrocities. I have been on the ground and seen. I've talked to family members. I've talked to people who have lost loved ones. And from everybody I've spoken on the street in Israel, everybody, they are in a state of national grief. Everybody knows someone who has lost someone, or who knows a hostage, or a family member who has been a hostage or is a hostage. Israel is a small country of some only 9 million people, and the state of grief in Israel is palpable. And I would encourage those members of the Greens political party to visit Israel. Visit Israel. Visit Israel and see the pain that has been caused as a result of the atrocities that occurred on October 7. But they won't. They don't want to do it. They don't want to talk about the appalling, atrocious attacks. They don't want to talk about the lives lost in Israel, the innocent lives that were lost and started on October 7. Why? Why? Why won't they talk about what started this war?